We're talking about what every morning show in America is talking about today. Gestational diabetes. Okay. And you're probably thinking, is it Gestational Diabetes Month? No.
No.
Well, not that we know of. It's possible. I don't know.
You didn't print the list.
I didn't print the list of what to look forward to in May. Maybe we're supposed to look forward to gestational diabetes. I don't know. Happened 30 minutes ago. I was saying that Eric Stonestreet of Modern Family has something in common with Biggie. They're both on Mounjaro. He has type 2 diabetes, Eric Stonestreet, but never revealed it to his castmates at Modern Family, and now he has a deal with Eli Lilly. Biggie's also on Mounjaro. He does not have a deal with Eli Lilly. He also does not have diabetes.
And his castmates know.
Correct.
And his castmates are floored.
That's right, that he doesn't have diabetes. When they check you for type 2 diabetes, does the doctor go back and this thing must be jammed? What is wrong with this thing? I told Biggie to get...
They tap the test tube of blood.
What? How can this guy not...
Is it congealed
Yeah.
at the top? What's
What's going on here?
No.
I told Biggie before he went to the doctor, have a milkshake so they'll put you on.
It doesn't work like that. I've tried.
He's on it.
He's tried.
He's on it now. So Chris Demm said, are there more than two types of diabetes? And I said, no, obviously not.
Me being curious.
Yes, me being pig-headed. I've only heard of two. There can only be two. Done. Not only are there two, now a third, gestational diabetes, if you want to count it. Biggie does not. He pushes back against our fact checker, Rusty, who said his wife had gestational diabetes when pregnant. Biggie said, ho-hum, so what? That's 9 months. You know, guys live with it forever. Yep. Women live with it forever. Now we have Lauren, who is a dietitian, and she says, there is another.
Yeah, so I'm a dietitian, and there are actually 4 types of diabetes. What? So there's type 1 diabetes, where your pancreas just doesn't make insulin at all. Type 2 diabetes, which is where your body makes insulin, but your cells are resistant to it. And then gestational diabetes, similar to type 2. And then another 4th type of diabetes called diabetes insipidus, which is like totally different, caused by like electrolyte imbalance.
Wow. Never heard of that one. Mm-hmm. Got 4. Boy, Chris Demm was right. He said, are there more than 2? I was like, no chance. And he got it. There are 4. Now, as a dietitian, do you think that type 2 diabetes should simply be called the sugar because you bring it on yourself, unlike the others?
Actually, no. There's a really large family genetic component to gestation or to type 2 diabetes. So a lot of people live in what we call like normal or typical sized bodies and end up getting it simply by genetics.
I've learned something here.
Genetics.
I sometimes poo-poo genetics. You've seen that.
Yeah.
You've seen that in me.
And every doctor will tell you genetics has a lot to do with things.
Of course. But I poo-poo when somebody says, you know, I'm overweight because
I'm big boned.
I'm big boned. My whole family is overweight. I always think, yeah, right.
I'm not fat, I'm big boned.
And they'll say, I'm overweight because it runs in my family. I'll go, yeah, sure, right.
Yeah. Push away the mashed potato, sweetheart.
Right. I know.
Do some push-aways and some push-ups. Push away the mashed potatoes and do some push-ups on the floor.
Very, very guilty of that.
You're a judgy guy.
I am That should be my next non-negotiable. Stop being so judgy. Stop judging.
Please.
Stop.
You've made it 50-some years like this. You can't change now.
Let me tell you what I did yesterday. Okay. I've got a good friend at the gym. I'm not going to give her real name. Let's call her Deanna. Okay. That's not her real name.
That's a weird name to choose, though. It's all of them. It's pretty deep in the fake names I would have choose category.
Well, her real name starts with a D, but it's not Deanna.
Okay.
That's how. So her name, let's just say, is Deanna. I used to see her at least 3 times a week at the gym. Okay. We've become friends. I really like her. She's very nice. About my age, a little bit younger than me. You know, Gene, my friend Gene. We always just chatting. You know,
Jim
Gene. We're like, what'd you see on Sex and the City and that kind of stuff. You know, we're all
Just gals.
Just gals sitting there,
Gossiping.
you know, bunch of hens before the workout, just sitting there talking. You know, so I hadn't seen Deanna in 6 weeks. I mean, I hadn't seen her in a while, and I've even said to Gene, where's Deanna? You know, what's going on with Deanna? And nobody knew. Well,
no answer.
Yesterday, she comes back for the first time in a while. And I was like, hey, stranger, what's going on? You know, what happened?
Oh, no.
And
I thought you quit.
Well, I did. I was judgy,
Yeah.
you know. And Deanna says, y'all are not going to believe this, but I bought the wrong panties and I got an allergy down in my private parts, and she did
In the
whole,
lady business?
in her lady business, and she said I had to go on a steroid, and I couldn't come back for 2 weeks.
All right, who's ready to start? Let's start with our warm-ups, everyone. Arm rolls.
And then Gene started asking questions like, well, did you get swelling around? And I was like,
If we could end the cooter rash talk and focus on what we're doing here today, folks.
All right, the clock has started, ladies. The clock has started.
We understand Deanna will not be getting into the rowboat today.
believe you me, I did
She
not.
can't move that part of her body yet.
I'll tell you what, I didn't want to be on her rowboat. I can tell you, I don't want to. But she said I had to wait 6. You know what she did? She goes,
The wrong panties.
well, she said, I've been buying those Calvin Klein white panties for 30 years. All cotton white panties. And I said, you and me both, sister. I mean, this is I'm a Calvin Klein
Show
girl.
your waistband.
I said, I'm all Calvin. Look at this. There's my Calvin.
There's
right
your
there.
waistband.
There's my Calvin.
Show it to the camera.
All right, there.
Yeah, okay.
Right there. All right.
The rare front wedgie.
Jeez.
I didn't think you'd do it.
Yeah, I mean, that was wild.
I'm in pain right now. Worth it.
Down in your lady bid.
I'm selling out. My lady business is as swollen as Deanna's right now. So Deanna says, I buy the same old, you can get them at TJ Maxx. You can get them over here at Costco, wherever I can buy them. She goes, I picked up a new pack of 6 panties, washed them, everything fine, puts on the panties, and within 24 hours, she said, I could hardly walk. Swollen, rashy. She's like, something.
What happened?
She went to the doctor. And she brought along the panty pack with her because she's like, this is the only, because the doctor said, has anything changed? Are you using a new detergent, whatever? And she said, no, I'm not using anything like that except these panties. And the doctor said, well, here's your problem right here. These are not just cotton panties. And she said that she looked at the fibers in the panty, and there was no cotton. It was all like different stuff she'd never even heard of. So the doctor said, well, you've had some reaction to something in these panties. Throw them all out. Go get different panties, and we'll give you a steroid injection, which is what they did.
Huh.
And so she had to have all sorts of, and she said
That's terrifying.
She said 6 weeks before she could even think about getting back on that dry boat. I mean, it was really difficult. Yeah, I know.
But if I'm trying to think of what else underwear's made of, maybe lycra, spandex.
She said that stuff,
but that's in everything.
And she said that normally she just buys white cotton panties. We had a long discussion about her panties.
Yeah,
and
it's not as odd as it sounds.
Right. She went on and on about it. I was a little uncomfortable. I started trying to change the subject, but it came back.
Right.
And Jean, she just kept on being like, well, tell me more about your panties and tell me more about your swelling of your genitals. And so I was like, I don't know if I should be hearing it.
Did it wrap around to the butthole?
It did.
Oh.
All the way around to the butthole.
Wherever the fabric was.
Everything. That's right.
Does she a full seat gal, or does she have like a bikini? Does she have a thong? Did you get that far into it?
She started to talk about that, and my friend Mike started walking across the parking lot, and I said, Mike, what we got?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
How about the game?
See that game last night? You like the Cowboys draft picks? He's Cowboy bet.
Thank God for Mike. I never thought I'd say this. I'd want them to stop talking about their panties.
These women keep talking about their panties. So at the end of the workout, now we're an hour later. Now only Gene and I have heard this discussion of panties. And I don't know. I do this all the time.
No.
As we're leaving, there's 25 people gathered around, getting their keys and so forth. And Deborah's, I got dogged. Deanna. Deanna says, got it. I didn't mean to say her name.
Yeah.
Deanna says, I'll see y'all tomorrow. And I say, be careful with your panties.
Might want to lay them out tonight.
What did he just say? No, you should have.
Once again,
We got a trigger alert.
Stuck my foot in my mouth there. Jeez, what a mistake. Here's what the point is. Ladies, be careful when you're buying your panties. Don't just buy. She thought she was grabbing the same thing she had been wearing for 30 years, and it gave her that kind of reaction.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So she's allergic to something. It may just be like lycra or whatever. But, she wears gym wear.
Right,
so
that's
assuming.
all stretchy stuff.
But I didn't get so far into that, because she had made that error. I saw a woman today.
Was there one? There's always some guy in the back after you tell this kind of story who's like, I had that in the service.
Jungle rot.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. A penicillin shot. You'll be fine.
You'll be all right. Well, they gave her something,
Yeah.
something like that. You know, they gave her a shot of something.
Yeah.
But the
I left it overseas.
Yeah.
right. There's a woman online today who's gone viral because she accidentally booked a massage, but again, she made a mistake, and it was at a brothel, and she didn't realize it.
Where? There aren't many legal brothels, right?
Not in the United States.
Okay.
This is Australia. I don't think it's legal there either, is it? You wouldn't think. But she said...
Well, I mean, prostitution is legal in a couple of counties, right?
In the United States, in
Nevada.
near Las Vegas, yeah. But this was, I'm assuming, because she has an accent, and she said, it was totally on me.
I accidentally had a massage at a brothel. I went and just had a massage the other week after the gym. My neck was sore. Well, since then I've found out that it is a full service. There were flags and they were red and waving. And when it was halfway through, a guy walked in and he was like, oh no, I'm going to wait for that other person. And I was like, yeah, whatever. She's actually giving me a great massage. But then she didn't change the towel or the face thing or anything when I left. She was just like, out, next. They were probably so confused as to what was there, saying, oh, I've got a sore neck.
So she's at one of these disreputable massage places and trying to get just a
Would you like me to massage your lady parts? Ah, it's just me neck.
Exactly. So
Take your panties off.
Yeah.
It's me neck.
This is a whole panty segment.
I don't know.
The whole segment of pulling down your panties. Exactly.
I bet the workers there, I mean, that's what they do all day. So I bet they weren't even shocked if she...
You think?
Yeah. I mean, you know, you don't get as many women, but I bet you get some, and you're probably like, all right, well, this is my job.
Yeah, so you have to do it, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah, it has to be done. Now, the most talked about story today also involves removing one's underpants. I got a lot of emails about this, and Biggie has said many times now, when it comes to being flipped off on the road or being cut off, he doesn't even react because you never know how crazy someone's going to go. This happened in Pennsylvania. Apparently, there was a road rage incident where one person cut off another car, and the person who was cut off wound up then stopping her car in front of the original road rager, getting out of her car, climbing on the hood of her opponent, dropping her underpants, and defecating onto the hood. This is something that simply...
Was it caught on tape?
Yes, it was caught on tape. And we only have a fraction of the audio here, but the people catching it said, this is really happening. She's defecating. You're a slut. You're so gross. That's all we can hear out of it. But anyway, she did do it, and she was arrested for it. 44-year-old Christina Solometo. And she told police later, look, it was the other woman's fault. She cut me off in traffic, and it was a clean poop. It was totally clean. I didn't even have to wipe.
I argue that.
Still, she's arrested.
If you see the...
Oh, you argue it.
If you see the business...
Yeah. Not
and
clean,
I've seen...
not clean.
It doesn't look like it's a real clean just...
It's not a poop emoji?
No, there's a splatter on the hood. I mean, now maybe that was just some gravity there.
She says totally clean.
How can one do that on command?
Unbelievable.
That is staggering body control.
Or did she just get lucky that it was that time? Or,
I don't know.
or
Was she rushing home to poo?
Yeah.
Or rushing to a toilet?
Maybe so.
I've seen her mugshot too, and she is doing the one thing that Chris Demm always says to do.
Smiling.
She's got a giant smile.
Yes.
You know who pushes back against that? B.B. Shea.
B.B. Shea.
He
Yeah.
doesn't like the smiling.
Yeah, he said it's your
Motion.
lowest moment. Embrace that.
Right. Go the other direction.
And I say no.
Right.
Because they'll never use it against you.
This woman is facing charges of indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, criminal mischief, and depositing waste on the highway. And that tracks. I mean, she did.
On a hood ornament.
I mean, it's maybe one of the most egregious things I've ever seen.
Well, it's disgusting. I mean,
Oh, without a doubt.
Just
but,
poo splash.
But just, I mean, this is just where we are.
Is it?
Now-
It is not where we are.
Well,
Yeah.
that was my question. Did this happen before the age of getting it on video and we just didn't hear about it? Or is this where we are?
I mean, dropping your pants on a busy street to take a dump on someone's car. I mean, I argue that wasn't common before video.
1992, that didn't happen. I don't know. It does seem
We had
like
camcorders.
Yeah.
we're all more. Yeah, but not right in your
more
seat.
at
You
edge.
didn't have it in your seat. You know, not everybody had one.
Yeah.
And this is full. Look, I've already said one controversial thing this morning, so I'll say another.
Gestational diabetes.
Yeah. When I saw her face, I thought, yeah, she looks like she'd do that, and she looks like she has some decent poos.
She sure did.
I'm judging a book just by her face, but I'm like, I could see her doing this, and I can. I think hers are bigger.
I had a woman tell me once she could take such a clean poo that she didn't even hardly have to wipe. You know, she almost never wiped because she ate such a clean diet. That
I've always heard and experienced. If I'm eating better, it's a lot easier.
Well, you said at one point you got to eating so clean that it was almost like you couldn't even see it in the bowl.
Exactly.
They call her the Delco Pooper. So she's probably got one of these mayor from Easttown accents over there.
Is that a region of Pennsylvania or a town?
Delco, that's east. That's toward Philly.
My God, that's about as rough as it gets right there. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that ever happened before, or we are more afraid.
Or is she a pioneer? Is she the Neil Armstrong of car poop?
The first to do it. Will we see more of this?
I see the still photograph. I've not seen the video.
God,
I mean, and it is literally, an inch above the badge.
Yeah.
On what appears to be a Hyundai.
Yeah.
Behind her or a Kia, I can't tell.
That's going to hurt your resale value there.
Yes, it is.
Would you trade that in?
Is that going to show up on Carfax?
Oh, yeah.
This was the one that got crapped on, right? Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Hey, you weren't part of the Delco Pooper incident, were you?
This all checks out.
I was.
This checks out here. God. Speaking of driving, and in this case, flying, I read today, too, and my wife had just told me this. We're getting our real ID as soon as we can, but it's been a challenge. You know, we don't have passports that are up to date. It just ran out. So now I had to have my birth certificate sent to me. My wife's having hers. My wife says it's doubly hard for her because her maiden name is on the birth certificate, and now she has a married name. So she has to have documentation like our marriage license to prove that she changed her name. Isn't that something? I mean, she's had to dig through all sorts of stuff now to get this real ID. And then she was saying yesterday, her big concern is somebody in the family, like let's say she has to be airlifted to a hospital in Atlanta. That means I can't fly to Atlanta until I get a real ID to go with her, you know.
You'd have to drive.
I'd have to drive it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be a huge issue because I think they'll airlift us in state. We have a lot of universities around here with, you know, so I told her I'm not that concerned.
Maybe the oddest argument for a real ID.
What she said. That's my wife.
What if I'm airlifted to Emory?
That's what she said.
I'll see you in 5 hours.
I said, well,
Look, I'll meet you at Duke. I mean, it's an elite hospital.
I said, I'll drive it. And she goes, but what if you have to fly? And I said, but if you're airlifted somewhere, it's going to be Chapel Hill or Duke. It's not going to be Emory in Atlanta. She goes, what if there's a specialty only at Emory in Atlanta? I said, well,
then I'll see you there.
I'll drive it. I said, well, I'll have to drive it. You'll have to wait.
Now, this is a question that maybe like 1% of our audience might be able to answer. But if you, let's say the owner of this company decides to book a private jet and fly to the Kentucky Derby.
Do you need a real ID?
Do you need a real ID, or are you just... There's no security check, right?
I'm going to guess no, because the one time I've flown on a private jet, no, you just walk out and go.
Now, you would need a passport if you were to cross into Canada.
Yes.
Or Mexico.
But in the U.S., if you were to have a private plane.
U.S. to U.S.
I think you're all right without it. I believe.
I think so, too.
Yeah. We heard the guy, remember yesterday somebody was waiting hours in line for her real ID at the DMV and fainted.
In the heat.
And they went to a bystander who had this to say. He was shaking.
That passing out, it's too much, but as long as I got my license, I'm all right, man.
Speaks for all of us. He got it.
Step over the body.
He got what he did.